Hi, Grant with my 2 cents again, and today I'm going to talk about Steven Spielberg and Christopher Nolan. Now, there's a lot of directors out there that want to make a film that caters towards a more artistic theme or a plot line that is a bit more out there than you generally see in theaters. And what happens with that is a studio might get excited about that. So they give a lot of money to the idea and to the director. And then that first film goes to theater and then doesn't make a ton of money because it's kind of a niche topic that they go over, or a idea that a lot of people aren't really going to get behind and say, wow, I want to see that movie. And then the funds progressively get less and less and less. They can sign less talent for it. They can have less quality of production behind the actual films, and then you see the director just disappear and just gone. And that's how you see a lot of directors that have great ideas and artistic visions just disappear. And it's unfortunate, but that's how it is, because if you put something out there that the public doesn't really like, or it's done poorly, rushed by the studio, or you just think it's a finished product and you want to make that money quick so you can move on to your next project, then you're gone. But with Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg, they have both been able to cultivate films that are both critically acclaimed and also generate tons of money. You look at an alien that befriends a boy in E.T., and it's a topic that could be done to a pretty odd extent. It's something that easily can be made into a weird movie. That's something that a lot of people can't get behind and say, I like that. This is a heartwarming story, an odd friendship, but it's endearing, and I like it. But Steven Spielberg has this gift of being able to take massive ideas that are very difficult to turn into films that you can relate to, that you can feel attached to and enthralled by, and turn them into something that you're amazed by every scene for the wild subject matter, or the big set pieces and ideas. But he's able to show you those things from almost a childlike perspective, in terms of when you're getting read a story for the first time when you're little, or you're watching a movie for the first time when you're little. For instance, you're watching Toy Story 3 for the first time and you're 5 years old or something like that, and all these these toys are talking, and it's all these things are happening on screen. But because you're little, you're able to associate with the film a little more. You're able to look past some of the glaring things that aren't realistic. And with Steven Spielberg, what he's able to do is he's able to give the audience that same kind of gleeful feeling when watching a movie, that same kind of sense of discovery when watching his movies. And he was able to have about a decade stretch from 1993 to around 2002 of films that were both critically acclaimed and also made a ton of money. You had Jurassic Park in there, you had Catch Me If You Can at the very end of that, you had Saving Private Ryan, you had Schindler's List, just a lot of movies in there that were of varying degrees of drama, comedy, so on and so forth. But he was able to relate them all in a way where you are watching it on screen and you can relate to it, where you can look at it and say, wow, this is really powerful and really good, and something that appeals to the masses. It's not just something that'll speak to a few people here and there. It talks to everyone. And that's an amazing trait. That's an amazing gift to have. With his first feature film, with Jaws, it was incredible. The cinematography was beautiful. The storytelling was incredible. The way Steven Spielberg made the shark into a character that was as villainous as Thanos is today in current pop culture. That's what Jaws was, but even more scary, because you had beachgoers that watched that movie and then thought, what if there's a Jaws out there that's going to get me? And the way he was able to relate that is what he was able to do in a majority of his other films. Now, there were 2 decades, or there was a decade following the 70s where it was hit or miss sometimes with some of the Spielberg films. But once he got to 93, it was just hit. Like, he found some incredible formula to just create a film that is both this big picture idea that's very difficult to bring over to a film and make it realistic, or at least make it something that people can enjoy watching on a large scale level and feel like, wow, this is a good movie. This is a crazy idea, crazy, themes and plot and everything. But this is a really good movie. I like it a lot. Spielberg was able to do that during that whole time, and it was with stories that again had a lot of weight to them, like Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, and a good chunk of Catch Me If You Can. And he was also able to put really entertaining movies out there like Jurassic Park, and it's incredible that he was able to do that. And lately, it feels like he has lost that ability to an extent. Ready Player One, I think, was the most we have seen of Spielberg be close to that kind of classic filmmaking that he had, and that perfect formula he had for a little bit. But it still didn't fully ingratiate me, and it didn't fully grab audiences and say, this is a great movie, this is a classic movie. Because for a lot of those movies that Spielberg was making from the 90s up till the early 2000s, it was an instant string of classics, essentially, that you could just watch over and over and over and over again, no matter what the year is. And that's where the overlap comes in between Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg, because where Spielberg started to slip away there, Nolan came in, fulfilling essentially the same aspect of mainstream director that also makes really good movies. You have the Dark Knight trilogy, starting with Batman Begins in 2005. And you also have, before he became one of the big mainstream director that he is now, that everyone loves, he had some really good movies that were critically acclaimed and were a bit more niche films. There's Insomnia with Robin Williams and Al Pacino. Very, very good movie. And then before that, there was Memento with Guy Pearce, which is about a guy with retrograde amnesia who can't remember past 24 hours and tattoos his body with clues that are going to lead him to who may potentially be his wife's killer or involved with his wife's murder and his injury during that murder when the assailant came in. And you have those big those very large concept ideas that were, again, catered to a more niche audience. But then somewhere in there, up until 2005, he was able to come up kind of like what Spielberg had, with a formula where he was able to just combine excellent actors that people want to see from incredible movies like Christian Bale and countless others, and Michael Caine, another one, and combine that with a very interesting plot line and themes. With Nolan filling in that position, you now have his movies, again, the Dark Knight trilogy, coming out and just grabbing tons and tons of money. And then you have Inception, which is just that. I think Inception is the best picture of just what Christopher Nolan does with movies. He has these wild ideas, which go into Inception, where a dream within a dream within a dream, where a group goes in and tries to plant an idea and change someone's mind and way of thinking by going into their subconscious. It's a wild ride, and I feel like there have been a lot of movies that have tried to do that, and there have been. You look in the 80s, and it was riddled with a lot of sci-fi movies that tried to have these highbrow concepts, such as Inception, and they failed miserably because the production quality wasn't there, the acting wasn't there, the writing wasn't there, the direction wasn't there, or some concoction of all that, And then you have Nolan, who's able to utilize all of the modern technology, all of the great actors, all the great writing, and his own great direction, and he's able to fuse it into this incredible movie that is Inception. And he's able to do this continually, time and time again, and now he has another film coming out that looks like it's going to be another mind bender in Tenet. And Christopher Nolan has fulfilled the role that Steven Spielberg once had within the Hollywood sphere, within the mainstream movie and media sphere, and that is making something that both appeals to the masses and makes a ton of money, but is also an incredible artistic vision turned into an actual concluding film that you're watching. You're like, wow, this is something that someone thought up, put together, and then put out there. This is amazing. This is amazing. And he's able to do that. He's able to grab your imagination in a different way, a different style of filming than Spielberg, of course, but he's still able to do that nonetheless. And the fact that he can is incredible. It's amazing. And he is currently the most powerful director in Hollywood, in my opinion, because he's able to fuse those two things together. Is he the most artistically gifted director? No. Is he most technically gifted director in the way of he films? No. But the manner in which he's able to grab audiences and critics alike is unparalleled. by anyone else. Anyone else. Scorsese's a legendary director. You know, if there's a Mount Rushmore of directors, Scorsese's on it. But even he can't draw audiences like Christopher Nolan can, consistently, time and time again. And it's amazing. And with these two directors, it appears to be certainly a once-in-a-generation thing, where you find someone that just finds that formula, who is able to combine money from the public and interest from the critics into incredible success. And that's the incredible thing about cinema today, is that there's a lot of opportunity for more directors like Spielberg and Nolan to come out, because there's all these available things. The question is, who's next?